Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Access, a social media program produced and presented by the UWI Global Campus. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are on the World Wide Web. I'm your host, Cherise Glasgow. Today, we speak to two of our most recent 2024 graduates from the UWI Global Campus, and they represent two of our global campus countries. You will hear their stories and you will learn their experiences of studying with the UWI Global Campus. My very special guests today are Shakina Malus from St. Lucia and Raymond Imhoff from the Bahamas. Lady and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Talk Access. It's a pleasure to have you both here with us this evening. I am going to let you introduce yourselves and share a bit about who you are and what you studied at the UWI Global Campus.
Good evening, Therese, Raymond, and everyone listening, wherever you are. My name is Shakina Melius. I am a mother of two, a little boy and a little girl, and I studied teaching and learning with emerging technologies. I decided to choose that path because I am employed with the Ministry of Education in St. Lucia.
Hi, good evening. My name is Raymond Imhoff. Thanks for having us on board. Um, I studied management of information systems, and it's one of those things that I wanted to do because as I progressed in my career, I felt that I needed to sort of understand the dynamics of being a leader in a computer space. So naturally, I wanted to do a management degree. So that was my motivation for doing that particular degree.
Okay, great. So let's get into this. First, I am going to have us just slide into the episode by having a bit of an icebreaker session. So I'm going to let both of you can select a number between 1 to 14, and I will ask you a fun question.
Okay, I will go with number two since I have two children.
Good choice. What a memorable or funny moment you had while studying online that you'll never forget?
Oh, a memorable moment. One of my most memorable moments was with one of my tutors, facilitators. She, I would in St. Lucia we would call them dread. You know, when you're about your business, you're very strict. You know what you're about. But she had a very funny side to her, straight to the point, but very funny. And I will never ever forget her simply because she knew how to reach out to us. And I think we needed that. She also knew how to do it in a very fun and practical way. So that was very memorable. Some tutors, every tutor have their own way of doing things. However, for her, it was just different, and she stood out from the rest. So I will always remember her. So this was memorable for me, and just because of how it shaped my experience with the global compass.
Awesome. Raymond,
I would pick five, hoping for the best.
number 5. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long study session?
Oh, that's pretty easy. What I neglect to mention that I do have a 5-year-old. So I find that just interacting with her, just doing something totally different, sort of allows me to regain like energy and to focus. So for me, it's just about finding like I do watch football as well. My team is Manchester United. So it's just about, finding something that's completely different and it sort of allows me to recharge. Yeah.
Amazing. So you have reconnection and then you have some fun activity to balance out that studying. Very good. So let's get into this interview now. Sorry for saying interview, this discussion, this interaction. Tell us, why did you choose the global campus to pursue your study? out of all the other universities that we have out there, whether online or face-to-face, why us?
I'm going to start. I'll allow Raymond to start in the next in the next one. I must say my first degree I did in psychology was with the Open Campus. Now we've shifted to Global Campus. However, it's just better since I started with UE. I decided to go with Global Campus because one of the fundamental things for me is structure. I love structure. I like things to be organized in a particular way. And I had already developed that, knowledge for the structure that existed with the Global Compass. It was not far removed from what I experienced from the Open Campus. So just that, just that, that sense of, okay, I know what I'm getting into. I know this is the experience that I'm anticipating. And so I would prefer to go there. The other thing is, I believe that local is the way to go. Now we have gone global. However, I am from the Caribbean and UE stems emerged from the Caribbean. So I value that. Of course, if there is something outside of what the Global Campus offers, and I would probably have selected something else. However, it was right there. Global Campus was offering the things that I wanted to study. And so it was just a no-brainer. Simply Global Campus for me.
So I had similar sentiments. I studied in Barbados, and for me, I thought I had some of the most wonderful lecturers, and just the Caribbean culture and the nuances that it just felt right. Studying, within an institution that sort of understands our unique culture, and that was important for me. Another aspect, as a working individual, one of the things that I noticed when I compare other degrees, the price point, UE was a way cheaper than other institutions. So apart from being apart from having a comfort zone in the sense that I already studied in Barbados, it was on a price point. It was a very easy decision for me. As I mentioned, it's a compared to the others, the degrees is a lot more affordable.
Awesome. And it's so good to hear our fellow Caribbean persons like yourself speaking about the quality and the desire to remain studying within the Caribbean, because we know once persons leave secondary school, whether it's ingrained in them or just that allure of studying overseas or in Europe, in Americas, and places like that. So it's so great that persons who are listening can hear that we do have quality institutions within the Caribbean and that our own homegrown persons are opting to study here, whether it be for that familiarity or, as Raymond would have said, that cost thing that is definitely affordable for a person. So it's definitely good to hear that. And we want to hear, I know Shakina would have spoken earlier about what she does, but what are your career paths and how has this degree that you have pursued and have completed, help you with what you are currently doing or what you want to do in the future?
So you can toss me first in this scenario, so I have no other choice to be the first out. So for me, what I had mentioned early on, I had started doing, for me, in terms of promoting my career, I had started doing my management, and I felt that it was necessary that I sort of look into a degree that would foster, my development in that particular area. Now, what had happened was that once I would have finished studying about 3 or 4 months, I got a job offer from the Central Bank of the Bahamas as the deputy manager in IT. So for me, I sort of realized the full potential of my degree in a matter of months. I'm not sure if that happens for everyone, but I would suppose that I'm one of the fortunate ones.
Raymond, you are definitely fortunate. Not many people can attest to coming out of school and gaining employment right off the bat. I must say my situation is quite different from yours in that I was already employed with the Ministry of Education when I decided to pursue my master's in teaching and learning with emerging technologies. What really motivated this path were two things really. The first was I was teaching. I had developed a love for teaching students to read, and I was not necessarily qualified to teach. I believe that I was doing a good enough job. However, I felt within myself that I needed to further my education, get a little bit of what I needed to know to bring the best out of my students. So this was one. The second one was the fact that I noticed many students are very open to technology. And this is something that I think COVID kind of opened the gateway to. A lot of students embrace technology for learning. And so going towards this path was just the better choice for me, just to be able to input and kind of marry technology with the classroom environment and say, okay, students, this is what we are going to learn. It's not going to be in the typical chalk and talk fashion, but it's going to embrace those things that you guys already love to interact with, the technology, the tablets, going online, just the idea of doing things virtually. So this was really what motivated me towards this path of study.
We're going to stick a pin in that because I'm really hearing a lot of themes coming out of what you're saying, like practicality of your program. So we'll get back to that, but I just want to remind those who are watching us online that our application period remains open for all programs for the semester beginning January 2025. You have until Sunday, December 15th to apply for your undergraduate programs, and you have until Saturday, November 30th, which is approximately 9 days left to apply for your postgraduate programs. So you can access these applications by logging on to our webpage at global.ue.edu/apply. That is global.ue.edu/apply. So Shakina, I want to get back to you on what you were speaking about earlier in terms of asking you what was the highlight of your program and how applicable was what you learned in your program to actually putting it forward and displaying it and using it on your job.
Wow. The highlight of my program was the practicum, the actual capstone at the end that I had to conduct. Basically, I had been learning all of those things and I had to put it to practice. I had to record all of those things that I was practicing and to ensure that it made sense in a real world setting. Funny enough, I taught at the time, I teach in an infant school. And so at the time I was teaching grade ones. And it seemed for some, most persons in the program, they were teaching older students. And I was like, okay, so how are we going to do this for younger students? I call them my little people. So how are we going to do this for my little people? And it became quite easy. In the school, we have smart televisions. So this was one plus for me, and I had to go about sourcing various things to enable the process to happen seamlessly. But I wanted to point out that my students totally enjoyed going through one of the, I will highlight one of the topics that I did. I did labeling parts of the plant, for example. So parts of the plant, we did this using Google Whiteboard. And so the students were able to access through their devices and were able to label by just dragging and labeling. And it was such an interactive session. I engaged the parents in the process so they knew what was going on in the classroom. I was taking videos, and all of that is part of the technology emerging within the classroom space. And they thought that it was a wonderful experience. The children enjoyed it. And it did not take away from learning. In fact, it added to the learning. So just the fact that there is this movement and using of the fingers, using of the senses, they were able to recall what was taught in the class, in the lesson. So this was one of the highlights. After my program, I actually fell pregnant with my son, and so I have since been on maternity leave. So moving forward, I would like to, when I return, to see how I could incorporate special education with the technology. So this is something that I am looking into. That is, I have a real passion for special education, special learners. And so I am conceptualizing how I can bring emerging with teaching special needs students and bringing the technology to aid in that teaching. So this is where I'm at presently.
That sounds amazing that you can actually try to go into that niche, which will be so needed within our Caribbean, especially with that special needs aspect of maybe isn't underserved. I think it's an underserved area within our Caribbean, and that is definitely something that will be good for you to further push into. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, certainly. Even now in St. Lucia, there's a thrust towards students with special needs coming into the general population of school. And so we would find various special needs popping up in our classrooms, and we would need to know how to navigate with those students because they learn differently, they need different techniques, and I'm thinking technology might be one of the ways to ensure that they're captivated and they actually learn.
Raymond, how about you? What was the highlight of your program, and what are some of the aspects that you would have been able to incorporate within your current role or any future roles?
Firstly, I just want to say that I do share Chikinta passion for teaching, and especially with kids that don't necessarily learn at the same rate as others. I do see it. I myself teach part-time, and I do see it, and I do see that the great need for us to sort of streamline the teaching necessary for those kids. So I share in her passion, and I really appreciate that she's into that. For me, when I was studying, a couple of the topics that sort of stood out for me is like supply chain management, in terms of technology, resistant to technology, like how to deal with it, and just being in that school of having so many persons contribute on a topic. You get to embrace critical thinking, you get to share ideas, you get to see different views on tackling a particular problem. So for me, once I would have finished and I went into, and that's another thing, she came to pay me a compliment. She said, when I came out, I'm fortunate to come out of school and get a job. I've actually been in the industry for over 19 years. So maybe the camera's playing tricks, and then she sort of see me as a youngster. So I just wanted to yeah. So when I came back, after finishing my degree, I noticed in terms of my level of awareness as a leader within IT was a lot better before I completed my degree. So for me, it sort of equipped me, and it's something that I still have the thirst for knowledge, and I'm actually doing my doctorate now just because of the experience that I had with UE. So it's one of those embrace and experience. And for me, it's sort of give you all the tools that necessary for you to sort of progress in your career. And like I mentioned, I do have a passion for teaching, but it's with a lot of older kids. So, and yeah.
We have two persons who are very interested in teaching and passing forward that knowledge. Raymond, we will get into you going ahead and doing your doctorate a bit later in the program. But I wanted to ask both of you, how would you describe your overall experience at the global campus?
Raymond is silently waiting for me to go in. Oh, my experience was wonderful. I say that because I'm sure you might get into this later on, but I wanted to highlight here that I developed a connection with my sister, my UE sister, I call her. I had UE sisters in my previous program, and I have one special UE sister from St. Vincent. And we've developed that connection. We kept each other very accountable. So, Shakina, have you done this? Have you checked this out? And I would do the same. And we kind of developed that relationship that helped us to survive. It does not come without challenges, but once you have, the support, we have the support of our families, but just to know somebody's going through the same process as you, that does a lot for you.
For me, coming from a technical background, as most computer science or developers would have server networking persons, it was sort of challenging for me for the first probably second, third, or maybe fourth course. But once I got sort of used to the level of writing, it was sort of a breeze coming on towards the end. And so much so that I encourage my friends, persons who are doing computers, to sort of do their masters, because for me, it helps you to articulate a lot better. You become a lot more efficient in how you go about explaining different things, especially in the IT world, where before my master's experience, all we did was probably just write like what they call short answers. So it
Not
was
for that
really
in the masters.
yes. So it's really tough at first, but I think once you stick with it and you sort of understand what is required, it allows you to adjust, and then you become a lot prolific in how you deliver. Yeah.
So sorry. I know both of you would have some kind of information technology background. How did you find that help with the online studies? Because I know online studies can be very intimidating for some persons, whether it be the loneliness, not getting to see your colleagues day to day, like in a face-to-face environment, and also dealing with the technology. How was that for both of you, and did your backgrounds in technology or pursuing a master's in some aspect of technology help you navigate that process?
Well, for me, it was for me it was good that I had prior knowledge, prior experience with the global campus, because it kind of set the way for me. I knew how to navigate. However, we live in a society now where social media is such a big thing. And for me, this was what helped me. I just saw it as doing social media. So it just changing the way that I looked at it assisted quite a lot. It is not far removed from what we normally do on Facebook and write and post. This is really what it is. The other thing is, I don't think it is really the technology. It is really the discipline, because you spoke about not seeing those people that you're interacting with in the virtual space. It's really your discipline. Anyone I encourage to pursue higher education, I would encourage them to kind of do some work within themselves first and foremost, because it really takes that dedication. It's very easy for you to say, okay, I'm going to wait and I'm going to wait. But then after the wait, you never know, a hurricane might come and then you might need an extension. And we did experience those things. But I am a stickler for starting things on time, because I believe that tomorrow is not promised, and you never leave something for later that you can do right now. That is just how I live my life. Once it can be done right now, I do it. And later I could get some time to rest, or later you just never know what will happen. So this is really what it was for me. The technology, I was exposed to a lot more technology because I was doing my master's in emerging technologies. So that was a benefit in itself. So just engaging in the material helped me to kind of refine my what I know, my knowledge and my skills in navigating technologies. I was exposed to so many. So now even technology that I am not already exposed to, I am able to find, and I am able to, work through it with a level of ease. So this was quite beneficial.
It was sort of the same for me, as Shinkin said that most persons are sort of comfortable with working in a social media sort of space. I do believe that the platform that we use is quite intuitive. It was easy to use. And for me, that would have been the first time actually doing virtual learning. So I could be a bit biased coming from a computer background. It probably meant that, it was easy for me to navigate. I know that because my first degree was actual on campus, it's not the same, but it does take an adjustment. One of the things that I do, because I mentioned that I do teach part-time as well, one of the things that I do like is when you have sessions to probably turn on your camera, and I find that gives you that touch point that's it's not there because of you're doing virtual learning. So I always encourage persons to turn on your camera, see interaction, and that helps. What was fundamental to me in doing virtual learning as well is that we were able to set up like WhatsApp group, and we were able to have constant communication, and that sort of fill the gap for not having like an in-person educational system or classroom. So like I mentioned, I could be a bit biased based on my computer background.
But in general, you would say that the platform was or is something that persons who may not necessarily have a computer background but know some bit of technology will be able to navigate,
Navigate.
and
Correct.
there's help there if they have any challenges or difficulties.
Yeah. Correct.
And,
Okay.
sorry, I must add
Yes.
that the global campus actually offers technical support. So
Yes.
even persons who do not have any background in technology, who probably might be intimidated by that, they could rest assured they could find that support in our technical team. I'm saying our, I've placed myself in.
You're a pelican now.
Oh my God. But yes, the support is there, and wonderful support.
Yes. And it's so good to hear, excuse, Raymond speak about WhatsApp groups and keeping that trying to lessen as much as possible that interpersonal computer online. I know WhatsApp is still an online format, but it's a little more personal that you can reach out to persons in a more quicker turnaround time. So there are so many options that our students can benefit from while studying online, although it's not a traditional environment as we see it, especially it's still a growing area within the Caribbean. It's such a good area for those persons who may not be able or may not want to travel overseas or to one of our other campuses. So that flexibility is there and is offered by the UWI Global Campus. And I want to go on to a question that Shakina would have alluded to earlier in the interview about our Caribbean and our unity and diversity. So I want to ask you, did studying with students from other Caribbean nations change your perspective on the region's shared challenges and opportunities? At the UWI Global Campus, you're located in over 16 Caribbean territories. How was interacting with your colleagues fellow peers, from different Caribbean islands? How did that shape or change your perspective?
I can go first for this one. Because I studied in Barbados, and it's sort of the representation is the same. For me, I also already had an understanding of or rich and different Caribbean culture. So for me, the online was just more of the same because I've already had a few years of that sort of rich coming together of our Caribbean culture.
Well, for me, despite our differences, I really appreciated how similar we were. One of the biggest challenges that we faced uh, with virtual learning is technology in terms of Wi-Fi connection, internet connection. And when Flo was down in St. Lucia, Flo was down in St. Vincent, and Flo might be down somewhere else. And I was like, oh my God, Flo needs to do something. But yes, it really highlighted that I am not alone in this. I'm not experiencing this by myself. And when I say to my tutor or my facilitator, Miss or Sir or Doctor, this is my situation with my internet connection. I do have everything. They will understand. They're coming from a place where they know because they have experienced as well. We share the same kind of um, climate situation. And so when there is a hurricane or when there is some bad weather or a blackout due to that weather, there is a lot of understanding. So pairs can look out for each other just because we understand that it is outside of your control. So this is really what I wanted to highlight, because Raymond did a good job highlighting our differences. We speak so differently, the accents, and people say, oh my God, you sound so different. Your accent is slow. Are you speaking too fast? And some people
Yes.
are, oh my God, they're saying, I'm speaking very slowly. Some persons think I'm speaking very quickly. So, it's really interesting, but that is what makes us Caribbean, and that is what makes us truly beautifully Caribbean.
Raymond, you're saying something?
No, I couldn't agree more. I was just, yeah, in agreement. I just nodded my head in agreement. Yeah, we do have a very rich and different culture. And sort of when we combine, when we get together, it's one of those things that you realize very easily that it's just a situation for us perhaps having a different term or different name, but it's basically the same thing. So it's just a subtle difference, but without that exposure, you sort of think that we're like you're fully Guyanese or you're fully Antiguan. But then when you interact with a fellow Caribbean person, you realize, and hold on, they're just subtle differences where we're
Yeah,
very much similar. Yeah.
exactly. That is so true. And you learn so much from seeing the perspective from other person through other person's eyes. And you realize you're not really that different to begin with. So we want to encourage those who are watching online. We have some comments here on our YouTube page from Dion Rudin. He is saying, good information online is the way to go. And I want to encourage those who are watching or listening, please feel free to drop your comments, your queries, your congratulations to Shakina and Raymond so that I can pass it on to them. So to encourage them for this milestone achievement, I wouldn't have said it earlier, but both of them would have achieved distinction in their respective areas of study. And just to remind you once again that our applications are still open for January 2025. So if you're inspired by anything you hear today, you can visit global.ue.edu/apply and take that next step within your educational journey. I want to ask both of you about the payment plans. And if you took part in that aspect of financing your studies, Raymond would have he would have spoken earlier about the affordability of our program here at Global Campus. But we know that even though something is affordable, we might not have all the funds up front or readily available to pay for this. Education is a very expensive venture. No matter how affordable it might be to you or to someone else, it still costs money. So did either of you participate within our financial plan?
I certainly did. One of the things that I would advise students to do is to speak to persons who are sort of pursuing they're studying way before you. And I had the opportunity to speak to persons who were already 3 and 5 courses in when I started. And one of the things that they mentioned to me is that try as much as possible to do as many courses that you can do if they're not prerequisite. And that's what I jumped on. And because I did that, at times I did 2 courses, I did 3 courses, and it was very easy for me to do a payment plan. It was just a few clicks away, and I was able to do a payment plan, and that sort of helped me to tackle a lot more courses. And because UE was so understanding, it allowed me to just continue doing my studying and pay at a particular rate. So I thought I was very accommodating, and I thought that the manner in which it was done, it was very easy to do. So I would sort of give props to UE for that.
Definitely with Raymond here, I did benefit from this. And I don't think there is anything much to add to this. UE really does a good job. It's really about communicating your needs, and someone will be there to assist and to support.
So there are definitely options for you to access this valuable and this quality education from the UWA Global Campus. I want to ask both of you, in terms of balancing, we know that balance is very important. You both are parents. You have full-time jobs you had full-time employment while studying, and then there's the online aspects of studying as well as any other extracurricular activities, whether it's church, any social groups. How did you balance that family life, that professional life, and that studying?
Well, I have 2 children. While studying, I had 1, and I had 1 on the way. One of the things that I am very big on is communication. My husband was aware of my decision. He fully supported me, and so he knew what to expect. And even in the instances where it was not clear what the expectations were, I was open and frank with him. There were times when, thankfully, he would, take my daughter and give me some time. But I could not have gotten that if I did not tell him that I needed that time. So for balancing my time, it was really about communicating first, and then deciding, okay, after I have done what is necessary for me to do within a specific period of time, I have that time allotted for my family. And I always allot time for my family, because in as much as you are open to doing it, in as much as you are motivated to doing it, there are times when you will feel a little tired. There are times when you will feel a little, and so you need time for yourself and you need time for your family. Time for family helps with alleviating stress. It helps take you out. You're at home. You're doing school at home in a space where you have been for the duration of the program. And so sometimes you just need a little step back. You need some time to go out and to see a different scenery. And this is really what I did. But I ensured that I did what was necessary. I did not want, for any instance, to request an extension. And so I decided that my time for school was allotted, and my time for family and other activities was also allotted.
I just want to say before I start that I do have a high appreciation for females based on what Chikinta said. That sounds as if she'd been through like a lot, and for me, it's like almost like if I have nothing to say compared to what she just described. So, and it's a testament of, I guess, Caribbean women and being strong and being able to do a lot. So, you know, as men in the Caribbean, we should be, and I'm very thankful of the role that women play in our lives. So, you know, I'm really impressed with that. For me, it's a bit of the same. It was sort of having a supportive family, being able to study at different times, and a good bit too. From a religious perspective, you know, before doing assignment, I would pray and ask for clarity, and I found that that helped too because sometimes you give an assignment, it's like I don't even understand what is being
What to
asked.
do.
What to
Exactly.
do?
Sometimes it doesn't come to you until weeks
Yes.
you're going into like, when am I gonna get this together?
Yeah, and I find that as soon as I pray, and then it's just sort of like the answers just come to you and everything just works. It's always like you have to be all prayed up to while you're doing your studying. And next thing I want to touch on is sort of figuring out what works for you. Waking up in the night was never my thing because I'm gonna go to work tired. I'm gonna be sleepy. So what I tend to do is that I do my studying early in the morning. So I would try to get to work way before. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes, Raymond, you can continue.
Yeah, sorry. And for me, I would go to work very early and get my work done before the starting time or maybe at lunchtime, just because interrupting my sleep was not an option. So you sort of have to work out what works for you, and you have to be intentional in terms of making sure that you study, making sure that you spend time with family, with friends, and stuff like that, because it's all that is part of your mental
Well,
well-being.
yeah.
And that's important in sort of keeping engaged in all that format. But yeah, that's pretty much what I went through.
Awesome. And you would have said before that you are now studying for your doctorate. So just give us some more insight into what both of you are doing now that you've completed this master's program. What's the next steps for both of
So for me, as I mentioned previously, I'm doing my doctorate in enterprise management.
you?
And one of the reasons why I did it is because I thought UE was so easy. So if I said that I can do my master's and it was that easy, then I felt so encouraged to continue. And as I mentioned previously, some of the topics that we did sort of helped me in my working space. So I felt that there was a need for me to sort of continue doing that. And I do have my parents are retired teachers, so I do have a passion for teaching. So I hope that at some point in time, I will be able to lecture. And one of the things that I tell people, because I know friends who studied it in other institutions outside of the Caribbean, I'm not sure if it's intentional or it happens by the way. But I do believe that when you do a degree, when you do your master's with UE, they sort of prep you to to do your doctorate. So for
Mm.
me, it was like an easy transition. Like while other persons are asking, how do we do this? How we do it? I had courses and courses with the same type of work. So it's almost like, and I hope I don't sound if I'm boasting. I'm just saying that how adequately you prepared me for the next level.
You would be able to give us an example now on the spot.
For instance, like just doing academic writing, like I mentioned before, coming from a technical background is one of those things that we don't get to do because it's just a lot of certifications and stuff like that. So it's sort of like a continuation in terms of you're given a topic, you need to research it and even to just approach it from a critical side in terms of looking at a particular issue, looking at the counter arguments, and then finding a middle ground. That's one of the things that we learn in class, and the lectures that you will always emphasize. Like whenever I would have submitted something, they would be like, I like the work, but I like you to be a little bit more critical, and that's one of the things that stood with me. And so for me, like I mentioned, it sort of was just an easy progression. Now that I'm doing my doctorate, because they've equipped me handsomely.
especially with that critical thinking aspect of academic writing. Yes, yes.
Well, congrats, Raymond, on starting your
Yeah.
doctorate. You are actually ahead of me. This is my next step, hopefully. But for now, I am still on maternity leave. And so I will be returning to work in January. I am in to teach special ed at my school. And so this is a wonderful place to kind of start to envision what I can do with merging technology and bringing whatever needs to be brought in together for the betterment of the students to assist in their learning. So this is where I'm at presently. But Raymond is really giving me a little nudge. You know what, Shakina, you need to, go towards this doctorate. I do want to. I must add here, I always like to, highlight my parents simply because of their role in my studies. My father is uneducated. He cannot read actually. And my mom simply did primary school. And so he's always asked me, so when next? What is next? And recently he told me, okay, so now you're going for the doctorate, so so this is it. I will definitely be going that direction once the Lord permits.
Awesome. That is so amazing to hear, especially coming from your parental background. That is good that even though a parent who would not have experienced this higher level of education can still push you towards that goal. So I'm sure they're so proud of you.
Definitely, especially my father, definitely proud.
So I just want to remind persons who are watching that our application period remains open for all programs for the semester starting January 2025. You have until December the 15th, that is Sunday. That is a Sunday, sorry, for applying for our undergraduate programs. And you have until next Saturday, November 30th, to apply for postgraduate programs. So you can log on to our webpage at global.ue.edu/apply. That is global.ue.edu/apply. And just to remind you also of a webinar that we have coming up this Tuesday, November 26th. That is, how can an effective quality management system support performance? So we recently had World Quality Week last week, and we are still continuing discussions around quality education. So how can an effective quality management system support performance? And that will be Tuesday, November 26th at 6 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time with moderator Miss Daisy St. Rose and our Dr. Pamela Dottin, who is the Quality Assurance Officer with the Vice Chancellery. So you can join us back here on our YouTube channel for that webinar next Tuesday at 6 p.m. So we have 12 minutes left in this amazing interview with Shakina and Raymond, and we want to get just a little bit more information from them before we close off. Based on everything you've learned from your journey to that first application to graduation, what would you say is one thing you would have told yourself at the start of this journey? No one wants to reflect.
Sorry, can you repeat the last bit? The last
What
bit.
is one thing, based on everything you've been through from that application, filling out that application to graduating and now sitting here telling others about your story, what is one thing you would have told yourself at the start?
For me, it's just that I gotta finish. That once I started, I need to finish. And that was my motivation force that here's something that you've started. And I find too that when you sort of get into or go back into an educational institution at a later stage in your life, I find that they sort of comparing how I was when I studied early on. I find that it's easier to be focused and easy to sort of have a purpose and stick to a purpose and stick to your mission. So for me, it was just that you have started something, you need to finish it. And that was my motivation for strong.
Well, for me, I would just tell myself to relax. I am very, very hard on myself. I think I'm a little bit of an overachiever. I also believe that I am situated where I am presently because I am supposed to be a difference. Within my extended family, there are not many of us who have pursued higher education. And so I am the one who always encourages and who tries to create that sense of, you need to do something for your own self. It's for self-development. So for that reason, I feel a lot of pressure on myself. They have not placed it. I acknowledge that I have placed that pressure on myself. Also, I always tend to feel a sense that I need to make my parents proud because of where they're at. Within society, they may not be looked upon as, those persons who are high up there. And so I would like to do something that they can look back and feel proud about. I am of them, and so my achievement is also their achievement. And so I would say to myself, girl, chill, relax a little bit. You're going to do it. You're going to do well. When I started, I did not start with an intention of getting a distinction, but it happened, and I'm really proud of myself. So this is where I would put it. Relax.
Great advice. And Shakina, what you said really brought home something that I would have heard earlier today. I'm not sure if you know the actress Kiki Palmer, but she was basically saying what you are saying, that she was, quote unquote, the chosen one that would take her family like a different path within that generation. And basically the advice that she would give anyone who is on a similar path is, if you're the one, you're the one. So hearing you say that not many persons within your family is educated at that level, and your parents are not educated to that level, but you are the one that will carry that torch, it's so inspiring to hear you say that, especially having gotten your distinction and continuing not only to educate yourself, but to also pay it forward as a teacher. So it's really good to hear you say that. And I want to ask you all one final question. What closing advice do you have for potential students, those who are currently thinking about applying for January, who have already applied and are waiting to hear back, and even our continuing students who will be going into another semester in January 2025? What is your closing word to them?
Well, I would say simply be open with whoever it is that is your facilitator. Be open. And I would also say, find your brother or your sister. Find your UE brother or sister. Family, as we all know, is very important. We know that in our personal lives. And so it equates to the same thing when you develop kind of that family relationship within your program. One of the things that I think I've already mentioned is that I developed my UE sister from St. Vincent, and we kept each other accountable, and we were able to have someone to speak to, even though we were not all face to face and interacting in that manner. So this is what I would say: find your family, find your UE sister, find your UE brother, or if there is multiple, even better. But do that; it will help alleviate the struggles that you might be facing moving forward.
Very good advice. Very good advice. And I did take some of those routes. For me, it's one of those things that I believe that it gets easier as you go through it. So as I mentioned, like especially coming from a technical background, it was new to me, but once I stuck to it, I was able to sort of become efficient, sort of sense that I was able to get a distinction. It's one of those things that ever so often I would still look at it and say, "You really got a distinction?" I'm still sort of, warming up to it. So it's achievable, and if somebody from a computer background who sort of would have only written short essays can get a distinction, you can get one too. So and it's about finding that balance in your life. It's about connecting with your family, connect if you're spiritual, have your spiritual connecting, just ensure that your journey is a complete journey. Because if you were to go too much into it, you probably would get burnout. So it's about ensuring that you sort of touch on all cylinders, ensuring that your journey is one of a comprehensive journey. So I would definitely encourage, and for me, like I mentioned previously, I do find a lot of IT persons only having certifications. And while certifications are good in the sense that it says that I can do this, um, a master's sort of give you that appreciation, just like your first degree, where you sort of get that overall understanding, and then you sort of can pick whatever part you want to do. It's the same thing with the master's. It gives you that broad understanding that certifications don't necessarily give you. So I would encourage everyone to sort of continue studying. If you already have your degree, go for your master's. If you don't have your degree, get a degree, because it sort of helps you as you progress in your career. So go for it.
Yeah, and the masters will also open up someone in your field for leadership roles as well.
Indeed,
Yeah,
indeed, indeed.
and we have quite a few of your students online. They're just shouting you out. Dion Ruden, he's one of your Java students. Anthony Nottage, Gianni Thompson, and they're all wishing you congratulations, Mr. Imhoff. And we have Akiva Pete. She's wishing both of you congratulations. And I want to follow suit with her and thank you both for joining us today for making this program a success. Those who are online watching, remember to continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Special thanks to our panelists, Shakina Malous from St. Lucia and Raymond Imhoff from the Bahamas. On behalf of the UWI Global Campus, I want to wish you all the continued success in the world as you continue to pursue your educational and professional and family aspects of your life. And we wish you nothing but the very best going forward. We also want to thank Mr. Patrick Johnson and Ms. Marcia Reed for handling all the technical matters, and those of you who are online once again for your questions and queries. In today's discussions, we will have shown that the UWI Global Campus opens doors to life-changing learning and growth within the Caribbean and beyond. And we hope you feel inspired enough to start your own journey with us beginning January 2025. So once again, thank you for joining us. Until next time, I am Cherise Glasgow. Bye.